Hello, friends, and welcome to Mahabharata Myths. So, this is the sixth episode of the series where we take a look at myths about the Mahabharata and the real facts. So, joining me and Pranshu today is Bharati. Welcome back, Bharati, to the
Thank you.
show. Thank you for joining. So, without wasting time, let's straight away go to the myth. So, we are going to talk about the killing of Karna. So, in the last episode, we spoke about the killing of Abhimanyu and Jayadratha. So we also discussed that Abhimanyu's killing was a turning point for the entire war. Now Karna's killing was probably the end point of the war, because after that, of course, Duryodhana had to be killed, but it was like more a formality. Karna's death dealt a severe blow to Duryodhana from which he could not recover. So this is a very important incident in the war. So now, what is the myth? The myth is that Karna was killed when he was unarmed and helpless. So he was on the ground. So you can see the picture from there. That is from Gita Press. So Arjuna is beheading Karna, and he's on the ground. So this is what gives rise to the myth that he was unarmed, he was helpless, and he was killed by deceit by Arjuna. But is that the fact? No, because we will see going ahead from now that Karna kept on fighting until the very end. So he was on the ground, but he did not stop fighting. And of course, there is a story about Parashurama's curse, which also we will discuss. But he did use the Brahmastra, he used the Varunastra until the final killing. So now, before we actually go into what happened in the final battle with Karna, there are certain past issues that have to be discussed. Now we know that he had the Vasavi Shakti, which he wanted to use to kill Arjuna, but then he was forced to use it to kill Ghatotkacha. So I'll now request Pranshu to talk about this part. Why didn't Karna kill Arjuna earlier using Vasavi Shakti?
Right. So now this is a very interesting point here. Karna had the Vasavi Shakti, and he actually did not participate in the first 10 days of the battle. He joined the battle on the 11th day, and he actually fought Arjun on the 11th day also. He fought him on the 12th day also. He fought Arjun on the 14th day as well, a couple of times, especially just before Jadrat was killed and after even the Jadrat was killed. So Karn actually had a lot of opportunities where he was face to face with Arjun and one to one on one basically with Arjun, and he did not use the Vasavi Shakti in none of these circumstances. Later on, during the night yudh or during the Ratri yudh on the 14th night, that's when basically he ended up using the Vasavi Shakti against Ghatotkacha. And after that, basically, of course, he did not have the Vasavi Shakti. Now, this is a very interesting point. Why he did not use Vasavi Shakti before that against Ghatotkacha? So now another thing is that uh, Vasavi Shakti, which is not very clear in the text, right? We have in the critical edition because the shlokas have been excised and other places. Vasavi Shakti can only be used to protect your life because it was in exchange for Karna's kavach. It was his protection in against an enemy, one enemy he basically wants to use. So when his life is in complete danger, that's when he can use it. So most likely in other circumstances where he battled Arjun, he was never in that situation where he was about to lose his life. Even with the again the other places where he was fighting with other warriors and he was brought near to death or other places, they Satyaki, Abhimanyu, and Bhim, they knew about Arjun's oath for Arjun to kill Karn. So they did not actually had him at that position at any point that he was going to die. Ghatotkach crossed that line. He hunted down Karn, and he was actually causing enough panic and enough destruction across the Kaurava forces and on Karn that Karn was forced to use the Vasavi Shakti. So the first part is that Karn had the Vasavi Shakti in with him, but again it was given in exchange for a protective armor. So it was as a protection against his death, and only Ghatotkacha basically triggered that point on the 14th day.
Yeah, just to add a point, as we can see from the screen, this is from the text. So, first of all, Indra tells Karna very clearly that the one whom you want to kill is protected by a great souled one known as the unvanquished boar, Hari, and the inconceivable Narayana. So, he tells him that even if you have the Vasavi Shakti, you may not be able to defeat Arjuna because he is protected by Krishna. But then Karna says, nevertheless, give me the Shakti. And then Indra says, if you unleash this invincible weapon in a fit of fury, it will descend on you. Then Karna promises that I will release Vasava's weapon only when I confront supreme danger. And that happened only with Ghatotkacha. So he had no option but to use it.
And we have seen that earlier also, when Shutayudh actually used his divine weapon, the Gada, in anger, and actually
Yes,
he used it against a non-combatant. It came back and killed him. So
to Krishna.
these divine weapons came with a basically a statutory warning: do not use unwisely, literally.
So even that's why Ashwatthama could not use the Narayanastra for a second time.
Exactly.
Okay. So now continuing. So as we know, there is a very important backstory about the curses that Karna had on his head. So Bharti will take you through the curses, starting with Parshurama's curse.
Yeah. So, some of the myths that are associated with this last fight are, there are three or four very critical ones, and one of them is that Karna wasn't able to fight to his best because he had lost. He didn't have his Divyastras. In fact, many people think that throughout the Kurukshetra battle, he didn't have his Divyastras, and so he was very severely handicapped. And that when Arjuna and Karna fought, he forgot all his. He forgot the Brahmastra, he forgot his Divyastras, and all that. So it wasn't a fair fight at all. Now, if we see Parashurama's curse itself, we see some very critical points. First one is that Parashurama is actually not very angry. He's not furious. If he was furious, he would have burnt Karna to ashes at that point. He's quite happy with Karna because Karna was a dedicated student. We have to give him that, and credit where credit is due and all. So Parashurama just tells him that this particular Brahmastra you gain from me by means of a lie. So if you go into a company under a fraudulent name or something and you take something from them, obviously they're going to ask you, they're going to send you home. The least they will do is tell you that they will send you home. Please don't come back to work if they don't throw you in jail. They're being very nice at that point. So Parashurama was doing something very similar. He was very smilingly, he told him that this Brahmastra you will not be able to use because you've gained it through unfair means. You are not actually qualified to get it. So you're not going to be able to use it. And if you read the wordings, you'll also see that this Brahmastra will not be at his disposal at the final battle when the battle is going to be a decisive one for him, ending with his death. So the rest of the time there is no problem with him using the Brahmastra, and this curse pertains only to the Brahmastra, not to the other Divyastras. In fact, we
Yes.
see through the battle that he has been using astras gained from Parashurama. This is a specific mention that is using astras gained from Parashurama, and he uses the Brahmastra itself twice.
Yes. Right.
The sequence of events goes this way: Karna and Arjuna battle has been raging. Then
Before
Karna
that, can we
tries
just
to,
deal with the Brahmana's curse?
yeah, yeah. So when he is actually distracted, I think Pranshu covered this in one of the earlier ones.
Yeah.
Uh, does Pranshu want to take this?
Oh, so
Because you were
no,
talking about the Brahmanas curse some in one of the previous sessions about why he was or Deepak was, I don't know. So Karna is actually quite distracted when he's practicing at Parashurama's Gurukul
Ashram.
or ashram. So he is distracted when he's shooting, and that is why he hits the Brahmana's cow. He's not paying attention to what he's doing, and this is why he shoots the Brahmana's cow. And the curse also tells you this: you shot my cow because you were distracted. So when you're distracted in battle, and that is the point at which your chariot wheel will sink. And this is what it says: your enemy will exhibit his valor and cut your head off when you're distracted in battle, and you are not actually paying attention to what is happening. And at that point of them, the earth will swallow the wheel of it. This is exactly how it plays out actually. He's distracted at that time, and not only that, he's already been injured very badly. His armor has been shot off. He has been penetrated in his vital parts, and he's confused. There is a very specific mention of that word. He's confused and dazed. This is when this is now how we get to the sequence of the battle. The battle is raging, and Karna decides to invoke the Brahmastra. Then he realizes that he doesn't remember, and he's lamenting about Dharma to himself. He is very confused at this point. Then he stops lamenting. Then he releases the Brahmastra also. So we know that the curse has come into effect and it has gone off effect also. It's no longer in effect. Now the chariot sinks. He is very confused at this point. He's been injured very badly. He's confused and dazed. He's lamenting to himself and he's not able to recall the Brahmastra first. Then he recalls the Brahmastra. Now the chariot sinks. And as soon as the chariot sinks, Arjuna stops shooting. Then Karna talks about Dharma and he asks for time. And then Krishna rebukes him, saying that you forgot Dharma until now. Just moments ago, when Arjuna's chariot sinks into the mire and Krishna is pulling it up, Karna doesn't stop fighting. He is still continuing to fight. But right now, suddenly he remembers that when somebody is on foot and you must not shoot and all that. And we see this in fact. It's not like this is one of the myths also associated that
And
Arjuna
Arjun
shoots
did
at
stop,
him.
and Arjun was not
He
shooting at
stops.
that
Yeah,
time.
that's what I said. Arjuna stopped,
Karn
but
starts
Karna
actually
did
again.
never stop.
Yeah.
So we see this is one more myth that Arjuna keeps shooting at him when he's chariotless and all. First of all, he didn't, and secondly, not having a chariot is not a great deal at all because there are several instances where people have lost their chariots in a war of this size. People are going to lose their chariots all the time. So we see several instances where chariots have been lost and people are fighting. Pranshu will be mentioning some of them, but some of the very critical ones in which Karna himself participates are also there. Everybody will know about day 13 when Abhimanyu is without his chariot and Karna is shooting at him. In fact, Abhimanyu is not even facing Karna and Karna is shooting at him. Abhimanyu has no chariot, no horses,
Even yeah,
no
even
weapons,
on this
nothing.
even on this day 17 earlier,
Yeah, day
there was a
17
sequence
also.
where Bhim is fighting, and Bhim actually wanted to kill Karn, and he shoots an arrow which penetrates him, and he faints. But Shalya takes the chariot away, and Duryodhan sends his 19 brothers to save Karna, and Bhim starts killing them. So Karna comes back. In between, he destroys the chariot. So Bhim gets off the chariot, but Karna keeps shooting at him, and Bhim kills like 700 elephants. Then Shakuni comes in, and with 502 elephants, he kills those 502 elephants. He kills foot soldiers around Karna, and then Shakuni brings this 3,000 like cavalry at Bhim. So Bhim is on the ground, and these they continue keep on sending these, and Bhim keeps killing them, and then Bhim gets onto another chariot. So this is a time where where the system is there. You lose a chariot, then
Yeah,
others will bring a chariot for you, or the reserve chariot will come in. Bhim gets onto the chariot and continues fighting Karn. So
yeah,
basically, the same thing with Karn. Karn loses
yeah,
around
exactly.
30 chariots, 16 to 30 chariots on day 14 against Bhim. So he keeps on getting new chariots. Now this is like he does tell Shalya that this is my favorite chariot. Was given to me by Parshuram, and it has like he described this chariot in detail a couple of chapters before, right? But even in that scenario, when the wheel got stuck, the main point is that Karn has been rendered
Yeah,
assistantless,
yeah,
because Pandavas in the very beginning, at the very beginning day, first day, Duryodhan says how many days you can kill, and Bhisham says I will kill in. Kripa says I will kill in. Drona says I will kill in. Karna says I will kill in. Everybody says I. And when Yudhishthira asks the same question, and Arjun says, and he names
our
this
team
23
will do
main
right,
warriors,
right,
we will protect
correct.
our forces. And this is how they actually fought. It is like, and basically, every Indian knows like about the game of chess, Chaturang, based on the army itself, where basically each step you take, you protect your pieces with the other pieces. And this is how you basically approach the battlefield also, which is basically, we translate into the chess game. And again, in this scenario, Karn is rendered assist, like everybody, all the pawns, everybody, things are removed around him. He has 2,000 top Kuru warriors. Basically Arjuna, Yudhamanyu, and Utmaja, and his Chakarakshak, and they will have their own Chakarakshaks and their own setup. Karn is specifically said he has 2,000 top Kuru Rathis as his Chakrakshas and everything around his chariot. They were all killed by Arjun and others, but they were all killed by this point in time. Even here we actually meet other sons of the Dhritarashtra, where they say the 10 sons of Dhritarashtra come to help Karn, and Arjun kills them. Now we know all the 100 sons of Gandhari were killed. So again, the point is, this the word sons of Dhritarashtra may literally may mean grandsons also, because earlier we see in on this 17 days actually full of a lot of information. 17 day, they're trying to cover up a lot of gaps, like Sanjay is trying to fill up a lot of gaps. So like in the way they have constructed is like Prativindya is fighting somebody. He's also called as son of Dhritarashtra. So basically, he's a grandson. He's a grand nephew of Dhritarashtra. He's of the family. So where they mean exactly sons may not be exactly the same case. So here Arjun and other Pandavas, they basically eliminate everybody around Karna. So there's nobody left around Karna at that point in time to help him, uh, which is fine. And this is how the game. This is how basically the war is done. They did it to Bhisham. They did it to Jadarath also. Jadarath had a lot of protection around him also, and they weaned it out one by one, where basically his protectors were moved away. Now, in case of Karna, also the same thing. Arjun destroyed the Chakrakshaks, the 2,000 Rathis, everybody who was around Karn. So Karn, but that is a legitimate tactic of the war. That's how you bring down the big warriors. And this is where again the point is that who is which. Again, the Kauravs' way of fighting comes into picture is that they are all I. How I can do my glory and everything. Even Karn is guilty of that. On the 12th day, when Drona is trying his best to get at Yudhishthir, you have a conversation of Duryodhan and Karn appreciating Drona's battle, but they are not helping him. They are not literally, they don't want to be part of that assistance to that Drone will get that glory. So that sort of thing basically holds them back throughout, and one by one they all die the same way. Is basically because they they fight single hand, as a single individual, not as a team, and so they die as an individual. Yeah,
So one
sorry
more
about
thing, when you were, it's not just Karna also does that to the Somakas around Arjuna, but Arjuna is able to stop his attack and bring them back. So this
and
is a
that's
strategy that both of them
exactly, yes,
use. Both
yes.
of them use the strategy. And this is why the Kauravas are standing, Kauravas and Pandavas are both standing around them at a distance safely and watching this entire battle play out.
They sort of
Which is
eliminate.
why,
Yeah,
yeah, they are just surrounding them at a safe distance, like, okay, let us stay out of the way. And they're watching this whole thing. And Shalya later, after Karna is killed, Shalya goes back to Duryodhana and laments to him that Karna has been killed. So Duryodhana is watching this. And this is how we can get rid of the other myth also, that Shalya does not help Karna at all. If Shalya had not helped Karna, Duryodhana was just there watching that, and he would never have made the same Shalya the commander next. He had
exactly.
Kripa, he had Ashwatthama. If
And we
Shalya had
already,
proven himself untrustworthy,
yeah,
Duryodhana,
and
who was watching this battle, would not have made him the commander next. So
no,
we
and when
know that,
Bhim had shot down Karn, right? Bhim could have killed
yeah,
Karn at that
he
point in
could have,
time.
correct.
Shalya is the one who rescues him.
Rescue him, yes. And
So
Shalya tells him even now not to shoot the Ashwasena Astra at Arjuna's neck, but
yeah,
at his heart, because you're sure to miss. And that's exactly what happens. It is Karna who refuses to listen to him. Karna actually refuses to listen to him quite a lot throughout this battle. Shalya is at loggerheads with him earlier, but during this battle, he's trying his best to help Karna. And he comes to a kind of truce. It is Karna who doesn't accept his help. It's not the other way around.
and that's actually one of the central tenet of how Vyas is also showing us the story that Karn is actually born and raised in a family of Sooth. They basically they are charioteers, and so they are very much a part of a Rathi's life, and Rathis listen to them. But Karn basically doesn't actually
Doesn't.
follow that, literally, that doesn't he doesn't follow that philosophy. He for some he that ahankar, that arrogance he has, that he doesn't listen to his own Rathi, which is Shalya. And Shalya is one of the major
Best,
kshatriyas of,
yes,
yeah,
right.
warriors. And he, like, they're told, like, he's at the level of, he not only he's a better charioteer than even Krishan.
Krishna,
And
yeah.
even earlier also, Duryodhan was offering him to be the first commander, Shalya. And if you look at how all the four commanders actually worked, Shalya was probably the best commander, because he basically gets all the remaining Kaurav warriors to take an oath. Nobody is going to fight single-handedly. Change your mind, change your mentality. You fight as a group. We will all fight as a group. Otherwise, and he basically says that whoever fights singly at that point in time, they will suffer the wrath of these five Mahapap, and five Upapap also. So basically, this guy, Karn is not listening to.
Correct. In fact, Karan doesn't even ask him to lift the chariot. Whereas we see just before a contrast, when Arjuna's chariot sinks, Arjuna is not even thinking about it. He's leaving it entirely to Krishna. He entrusts Krishna with the everything to do with the chariot. He's not even thinking about it. Karna is not stopping at that point. Karna doesn't wait for Arjuna's chariot to come up. He's still shooting. He's in fact shooting at Krishna also. Arjuna doesn't ask for time, Krishna doesn't ask for time. And Arjuna doesn't keep instructing Krishna, you do this, you do that. He trusts Krishna. Whereas Karna does not, we don't see Shalya has not refused to do anything. We don't even see Karna asking Shalya to do it or leaving it to him. It is Karna who gets down the chariot. He says, I want to lift the chariot, you wait for me, although he has not done that just moments earlier. And it is Karna himself who resumes the battle when Krishna rebukes him for talking about Dharma. It is not, Arjuna has stopped. Arjuna is not shooting at him. So the question of Arjuna shooting at unarmed Karna is absolutely absurd because neither is Karna unarmed because he shoots back, neither has he forgotten because he shoots back with the Brahmastra and Varunastra, and neither is Arjuna instigating the battle because it is Karna who resumes the battle when he is on foot. So all of these three myths are absolutely ridiculous if you just read the chronology of events there.
And one more myth also gets exploded, which is that Shalya refused to help Karna.
Yeah, he did
That's
not
also a
refuse. He was
popular
never
myth.
asked. And he was, for all we know, he was probably lifting the chariot on the other
He
side when Karna got down
Shalya had a promise that I will reduce his stage,
Yes.
his focus, and that's where they got into this fight, and which is a very good. And as I say, like the 17th day, Vyas is actually giving us a lot of information, Sanjay, about the society, the structure, and everything. We basically get to know, like, and even as initially, right? The You talked about the curse. Yudhishthir also, like, sort of knows about the curse, and he basically says, so Arjun, you have vanquished the son of the preceptor, which is Ashwathama, and the descendant of Bhargava. He's basically mentioning Karn. So see, he's calling him Bhargava, descendant of Bhargava. So again, Yudhishthir is making a joke here, basically on Karn. Well, he is a descendant as a pupil. You basically inherit your guru's gotra as well. So the that one is also part. But this is again, Karan says, "I'm a Bhargav" when he basically enlists.
it is.
That part is again, Yudhishthir is again also talking about. So we are getting a lot of this information here in this on the 17th day. Uh, where Sanjay is, and also this is also the point. There's a lot less army available. There's a lot less
Right.
warriors left. So Sanjay is focusing on the main thing. He's able to add more information, more depth. He's actually telling 2 days story to Dhritarashtra in this visit. Previous visit he was telling 5 days story, and before that 10 days. So you see, you have Gita, and then zoom through like few, like first day, second day, then little bit of third, and then zoom, like we go through fourth to eighth. The ninth and 10 days are again fresh in Sanjay's mind. So this is also a very nice way how the poet and Veshampayan is basically structured the description also. He's basically basing it on what he has read from what Vyas had already told him, or had got it written down. So where we are, so this is again like a other internal continuity, proof that Mahabharata was written like as a complete set very early on, and how it plays out, how the Sanjay's narrative plays out, and everything is basically how a normal person who would come to battle after 10 days, after 5 days, he'll come back and report. That report is basically plays out, and we see further reports, right? Later on, when Krishan
Yeah.
goes back and he's telling a much smaller, because he knows his father is going to get distracted with the news that Abhimanyu is dead. So again, you see a very quick summary by Krishan later on. So this is again very very nicely how Vyas and Veshampayan have structured the epic itself.
So as we can see, he has used the Brahmastra twice. So it's a complete myth that he was helpless because he could use the Brahmastra in spite of Parashurama's curse. Because as Bharti pointed out, the curse was given smilingly because Parashurama was not wild with anger at Karna. He wanted to punish him because he committed a sin, but he was not mad with anger. So that is why Karna could use the Brahmastra. He also used the Varunastra. So it was not that he was defenseless. And then, of course, Arjuna brings down his standard. So that has been described in a very beautiful way. It says that when that standard was uprooted, fame, dharma, victory, and everything that was dear to the hearts of the Kurus also fell down. Great sounds of lamentation arose. So probably we can say that this was a defining moment in the
Yeah.
war when it was realized that it's all over.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the final killing.
He used the
So
Angelika.
yeah, so actually Angelica has been given a lot of boost in the text itself. So there it is compared to Indra's Vajra a little bit ahead. It could not be fit into the screen. It's even compared to Pinaka and Sudarshana Chakra. So it was not a ordinary weapon. But incidentally, I think even Gatotkacha uses Angelica
Yes, he did.
on one of the days.
Yes.
So it was a powerful weapon that Arjuna uses, and finally, as the Brahmana had cursed, his head is severed from the body, and that is the end of Karna. So Karna's death was definitely not an act of deceit. Neither was he unarmed, neither was he helpless. The only thing was he was on the ground. He was not in his chariot. But as it has been pointed out, there have been so many instances where other warriors also
On
was
this
on, were on
on
the
the
ground.
14th day when Arjun was
Yeah.
chasing and the horses were tired, so he gets
Yes.
from the
He
chariot
Exactly.
and
gets her.
unyokes the horses and gives them a rub down. Arjun is in the middle of the Kaurav army, surrounded on all four sides, and
And they
he
do a mass
continues
attack.
fighting for. Yeah, he can.
They do a mass attack on one person.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he still continues on the ground.
Yes.
He's not
Yes.
mobile. Doesn't have the mobility of a rathi there. Doesn't have an advantage. So he's a static target, and he still manages to hold his own for 48 minutes while the horses are back into the action. So he's protecting Krishan, the horses, and fighting himself. He's protecting and he's fighting the forces around him. So that is
No.
like and that is the
Yeah.
level of skill Arjun had, which nobody else had. That
No,
basically.
nobody else, in fact, asks for whenever their chariot breaks. We see so many people's chariot breaking and them jumping into another. None of them ask for time because they are on foot fighting. None of them. Not even Kaurava warriors do that. Even
No,
Karna
even
himself loses his chariot and continues to fight. In fact, before
And anyway,
at
it's a
this
war, not
point,
a cricket match.
it's a
So they
war. It's
cannot
not
ask for
time.
a
They can't
timeout.
ask for time, please. Yeah, they
yeah,
can't do that.
yeah.
The only
Earlier,
options are you surrender or you retreat or you keep fighting and you win or you die. Those are the three options there. Nobody asks for time like this. And the reason Karna does that is because he's already very close to death at that point. That is how I would conclude it. Because before that, his armor is gone. He's been already penetrated very severely. He's confused and he's simply playing for time. That's all there is to it. That is the only conclusion actually.
yeah, he was probably playing for the sunset so that he
Yeah,
can probably
yeah.
fight
War
another
would
day.
stop.
But that did not happen because he
Yeah,
was restricted. And again, he had been fighting, and again, most of the core of main warriors have been taken out. So
right.
he was actually doing a lot of heavy lifting at this point in time, and he was beaten by like Bhim earlier also. So he had already been like suffered a lot of wounds and everything. So this was
Yeah,
basically sort of a survival on one side. Like he was just
correct.
trying to play out the time, but it was not his day basically.
It was yeah.
So we have conclusively disproved this myth. Karna was definitely not unarmed or helpless. He was fighting until the very end, and then finally Arjuna killed him. So that's the end of this particular episode, but we will be back with more episodes. Now,
And
before we
another
end
another
up,
very important
just one
point is,
question.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, just one question. So there are speculations that supposing Karna had his Kavacha and Kundala, would he have been able to defeat Arjuna?
No, see that's the point. We already know that he had his Kavach and Kundal at the he was defeated by
Draupadi.
Drupad with his
Yeah,
Kavach and Kundal.
Yeah.
yeah,
He was defeated by Arjun at the Draupadi Swamvar with his
So,
Kavach and Kundal. He was defeated by Bhim at the Rasuya Yagya, the Eastern campaign.
yes,
He was defeated by Bhim at that point in time. There is actually in Skand Puran story, Chakravarma comes and Veeravarma comes and he defeats the Hastinapur. No, let's not go on Skand. Let's stick to the critical edition even. If you look to stick to the critical edition also, he was defeated by the Gandharvas. He had his full armor. And there he ran away from the battlefield. So this is again the very important point is that it will help him a lot, but it will not eventually save his life.
So in
and
fact,
that
Surya
basically,
says this to him: "You will not be slain in battle as long as you." Surya never says you will win in battle. He only keeps saying you will not be slain in battle. So don't give the Kavach Kundal away. When he talks to Karna before the Kavach Kundal exchange happens, he repeatedly keeps saying you will not be slain in battle as long as you have this. So don't give it away. And the very fact that Indra gives a weapon to Karna, knowing very well that it will be used against his own son and knowing very well it is infallible, shows that Indra was not trying to protect Arjuna's life. He was trying to ensure that Karna will be killed,
finally,
which
yeah,
will not happen as long as he has the Kavach Kundal.
yeah.
Kavach Kundal will not prevent his defeat. It will prevent him from being dead, that is all. And if he's not dead, then there's a chance that Yudhishthira will give the kingdom to him after winning it also. This whole
No, no,
chakkar will
yeah,
start
that's
after
it.
the war.
Yeah, see, it's in Jan Mahabharata, basically because Jan Mahabharata, in the Jan cosmogony, they do not have the concept of Gandharva, it's Vidyadhar, but they don't have a concept of Rakshas as such, right?
Okay.
So Ghatotkach is not there as a Rakshas or something. So here, Arjun defeats Karn on that day, and then Karn retires to forest. Like he basically retires, like he's like defeated, and he accepts defeat, and he basically is sent out to the forest for the like the remaining part of his life. So that basically is, and again, there's a Garwali legend also about this temple there of Somashekar, and so basically the priest and the local the two priests basically play the role of Duryodhan and Karn. One of them, the priest, also walks deliberately with a limp. So they said that Duryodhan and Karna was sent out because see in giant cosmogony there's a lot less violence also, right? The death. So even Kichak is given the option and he goes into the forest and he
Okay.
exiles himself. So in here they basically are saying that even so as Deepak says that answer. So in Jan Mahabharat, even he had Kavach and Kundal in the battlefield,
in
he
the back.
still gets defeated and then he basically accepts, a permanent sannyas
Okay.
basically.
So thank you so much, Pranshu and Bharti, for
Thank
the
you.
wonderful explanation of this particular myth. So next week we'll be back with a myth related to the killing of Dushasana, and then we'll go to the killing of Duryodhana and forward. So those who watch this video, I would request you to please subscribe to the channel so you can get updates on new episodes, and also please do share any myths that you know of which we can discuss in this show. So thank you very much and have a nice day.